Good morning. We are live. Let me know how you are doing. I hope all of you had a really good weekend. And yeah, so as you could tell from the title, we are going to be talking about the top 5 manifestation gaps that keep you in old identity. And you are here because you want to shift into your desire embodiment. And you are probably a coach. You are probably someone who is very much into self concept, the law of assumption, just like thought leader learnings, and you want to really shift outside of your old identity and your old patterns so that you could shift into your high self concept and your desire embodiment and actually materialize from that space. So for those of you who were interested in working with me or just have any questions regarding my program, it's 9 weeks. It's one-on-one for self concept, and I literally shift you out of dysregulation into the version of yourself that is embodied in your desire. So I would love to hear from you if you are interested in just learning more and are ready to really just shift again outside of your limitations, outside of your false belief, and into a version of yourself that is you, that is more fulfilled, that is more whole and complete, and just embodied in their desire. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump into this live. I'm going to just take a sip of water. And for those of you who are curious about this live, you may also want to, of course, take notes just before I dive into some of the gaps. But this pretty much is what we go through in the one-on-one for self-concept, in case you were wondering. And we talk thoroughly about just your false beliefs. We get into your limitations. We really get deeper with questions that may have either triggered you in the past or have really given you like let's say a programming toward you not receiving what it is that you actually want in terms of your desire. And it's not to trigger you or get you in further disbelief. It's really to bring those false beliefs to the surface. And until they get really addressed, and I sometimes still till this day have false beliefs that I still have not addressed in the past, and therefore I really have to work through my breath work through my meditations, work through just releasing those emotional traumas so that I can move on and really be more of who I am. So for those of you who again are tuning in and really just want to get a better understanding of what the process looks like, this is the exact process that I walk you through step by step. And you'll find that the more and more you increase your level of self-awareness, which leads me to the first point, is that you will get more aware of where it is that you are actually at right now. To be honest with you, many of us try to either like cover up what we're currently going through. And if this is you, just like really give yourself grace, because I feel like when things are bad, it's almost like we don't want to surrender to the fact that things are bad in reality, right? Like you could be going through either a breakup or financial burdens or just overall not feeling safe and secure with where you're at right now. And that is completely normal, actually. But what needs to happen is when you are going through these situations and you're going through these, let's say, experiences of isolation and mentalities, you really want to reach out to a professional, whether that be me or someone else that you trust, that is in your either your network or whoever that you have researched to be really knowledgeable in this field, so that you could begin to start making changes from within and start to feel better about where you're at in life, right? So this is more so really being honest with yourself, being really honest and transparent with yourself, because as soon as you hold yourself accountable to knowing that you are the version of yourself that has this accountability and this responsibility to get yourself into a state where you can sustainably materialize your desire, you have to just make that decision. You have to come to the realization that you have to be honest and say, you know what, I thought I was going to be okay, or I thought everything was good, but this looks really bad, right? And not to judge you in a particular way, but to just be honest with where you're at right now. Because if it's bad, it's meaning that, and I don't want to say bad or good, but it's like, if it feels like you are in a version of yourself that isn't fully and truly who you are. And of course it is a false belief materializing, but you want to really be honest that this is in fact a experience that you are experiencing that is being materialized from a false belief. So just wanted to put that out there, that it is time to really get serious and accountable about where you're at, and the real way that you will be able to actually create sustainable change is by being brutally honest with yourself, even if you are not ready to take on the emotions, even if you're not ready to really even take on the accountability, like the level of accountability that means that you are no longer like blaming others, blaming just your circumstances, your experiences, your false beliefs, like. And again, if it is a false belief, then you already know that you were the cause in the beginning, right? From the first place. And again, it's not to beat yourself up, but it's just really giving yourself the opportunity to sit yourself down and really evaluate and reflect on what has no longer been serving you and how to release that so that you can sustainably change your environment, just like your inner self dialogue, your environment, and your reality and how you experience life. Okay. And so I want to get into these top 5 tips because I had a longer than normal introduction, but as we're going into this live and just you experiencing sort of any like manifestation gaps, and really it's awareness gaps, I really want us to start thinking about ways that we can build a familiarity on attaching ourselves to our desires and attaching ourselves to our, whether that be emotional wealth, our freedom, our overall fulfillment, our joy, our even peace for some of you, our self-regulation. You really want to get into a space where you're consciously aware that we're all connected, that we're all one. I know some of you who are in this space are fully aware of consciousness and just the real, what is real, and proving to us what is real, right? And proving to you what might be real. And to me, what is real to me is source energy, which is one consciousness, which means that we're all connected, right? And this is not to divvy up or to like deflect on other people's beliefs. I'm not projecting or anything, but really want to give you just a bit of what I believe in and what's really worked for me in terms of knowing that we are all connected, is because when you are reaching to a level of awareness where you are accepting of everyone as you pushed out, it just gives you that consciousness that we are all connected, right? We all have this heartbeat really that keeps us alive, and it's all encumbersome of what is going on around us, and it's all meaning that we are connected, that we are all one. So as you are just listening, I want you to, or taking notes, or doing both obviously, but like I want you to really understand that when I go through these these points or these like gaps, that it is in 101 for self-concept, so it's a program, and I walk you through it, but also just to give yourself an awareness that we are all connected, that we are all one. It's really to give yourself the opportunity to think more expansively, to feel more into, okay, well, I am not separate from my desire, and I'm not separate from anyone else. That if I'm going through a false belief, I'm also not the only one. So this kind of just eliminates all separation, hopefully all separation, if not some, and eliminates most of your false beliefs around where you are at, like, right now in your reality and how you're experiencing life right now. So just think of this just the source energy, which is one, and this is going to really help you shift into being more knowledgeable about your own manifestation gaps and just being more consciously aware of that. So my first point of just talking about conscious awareness, of course, and the ways that, of course, that you can increase this is by increasing your level of just overall regulation. So I talk about self-regulation activities and you just being able to release your false beliefs in a safe, in a safe, secure manner. And what this looks like is just by doing breathing exercises, like really creating a system for yourself that is sustainable every single day. And the more that you are doing these activities, the better and better you will get with getting just overall self-aware about how you're experiencing life, what your thoughts are, what your inner dialogue is, and how you're actually going to shift outside of your false belief, materializing and rematerializing into a version of yourself that already has your desire. And I'll get to this in the last few points, but what you really want to focus on at this time is getting really centered in your desire, right? And really having this idea that you are one with your desire, because that is what is real. What is real is source energy, which is one consciousness, right? So when you have this idea that you get to expand because you are in the witnessing of your inner self dialogue and your overall thoughts, and perhaps just rewiring your belief system, it's really simple. Because when you think about it as from a lens of already having what it is that you want, you could start to materialize in a quicker way, because you have already built the familiarity around what it is that you actually want, and knowing that this is a part of who you are. This is a part of your new self-concept, your high self-concept, right? And your higher vibrational states. And by higher vibrational states, of course, I mean, again, the fulfillment, the wholeness, the completeness, the oneness, right? That you have right now available to you at all times. And so what is keeping you back, again, from materializing desire, which is keeping you in your old identity, is your lack of self-awareness, your conscious awareness, right? Your subconscious mind already knows all the things, but because it is still in fight or flight and survival, in lower mentalities, it's probably unable to really materialize from a place of, well, it's not probably, it is. It is in a state where it's not going to materialize for you what you consciously may want, because you haven't had the system where you are safely able to release those false beliefs, so that they no longer have to materialize, because you have addressed them already. So once they have been addressed, again, released, like from your emotional body, from your just overall nervous system, then you can move on. And this is, again, honoring the process. Then you can move on to working on just sustainably reaching a level of emotional self-regulation, so that you can move on to really getting aware of whether you are shifting in and out of dysregulation, false beliefs, and into your desire. Okay. And this is the desire embodiment. And So for the next point, it's pretty much what I just mentioned. It's like you want to be able to have a heightened awareness around whether you are shifting in and out of false beliefs, right? And of course, if you are in a state of neutrality where you are again noticing your thought patterns, you're noticing perhaps your experiences, but you have not been able to relate those back to a belief, a false belief, or like just a programming, a conditioning of separation, you really want to get clear on what that is. Okay, so that would be your next best step, especially if you are noticing patterns in your life that are just no longer serving you, that you no longer want to experience. This will be the time where you actually invest in really getting to know what this false belief is so that you could start to materialize on a consistent, sustainable basis. And what the next point is you really want to get into a mode of again attaching your desires to your identity, attaching your desires to your high self-concept, and knowing that this is exactly who you are and this is exactly where you need to be in this present moment, right? And a lot of this also is going to happen naturally, like what I mentioned before. Like as soon as you get into building a familiarity with just the routine that you're creating in your self-concept, in your self-regulation activities, day to day, creating this routine, creating this lifestyle, you're automatically going to get inner self-dialogues, you're going to automatically get the visualizations, you're automatically going to get this desire embodiment, because in your self-regulation activities, you are filling in the gaps. You are filling in the gaps of what it means for you to have this high self-concept to begin with. And this is why, again, you have to honor the process, right? This is why there is a process, because you really want to get your emotional body, your nervous system, your subconscious mind to a point where you can easily impress and saturate your mind with the idea that you already have this desire. And the embodiment portion is knowing on a physical, well, it's more like emotional level first, spiritual level first, before it can unfold and pushed out and get pushed out in 3D, is really getting to a space where you are thinking, feeling, and believing from a place of already having this desire. That is what embodiment is, in my opinion, that you get to feel this even though you do not have any physical evidence, but you still get to feel the fullness of what this desire is bringing toward you, and you get to maintain and sustain this feeling until it gets pushed out, until you get to actually experience it in reality. We're not worried about the how or the when, we are just shifting, and those shifts are available to us right now in this present moment. And the next tip, or I keep saying tip, the next gap that is keeping you in old identity and old self-concept is that you lack your desire. Like you lack knowing that you get to strengthen your desire, and therefore you don't believe it's even possible for you. And there is a clear issue here, because in order to really shift into the version of yourself that is felt into the embodiment, you have to know that this embodiment is yours, that you have to know that this version of yourself is exactly who you are on a deep identity level. Like this is almost a birthright of yours, right? And it feels like a birthright. It feels familiar to you. It feels natural to you to have this desire. Many of us who are in this state of just isolation or lower state mentalities, or just wanting to shift and wanting change, we find ourselves just really wrapped up into the physical manifestation of our false beliefs. And we believe more into the false belief than we are in the desire itself. And you really want to pay attention to this, because when you are believing more in the desire versus the false belief, that's where you could actually create change. Or if it's vice versa and you're believing more in the false belief because you see it in front of you, and it's hard to really step outside of what life would look like as the version of yourself that is embodied in your desire, it I could understand why it feels really real for you to stay in the false belief, but this is again why you do need to get back into your emotional self-regulation activities so that you can shift more into believing in the unseen and really changing yourself from the inside out, really aligning your beliefs and strengthening that neurological pathway in your mind to believing that this desire is possible for you. This desire is your birthright, and this is a part of who you are, right? Because you are already living this desire. You are already the version of yourself that is living in this desire. So why not make the full shift into knowing that this desire is natural to you, that this desire is exactly who you are. If not, it's the beginning of a more expansive and high self-concept version of you. And the last point is that you just overall lack self-awareness and conscious awareness around your shifting and your shifted states. So you want to get really anchored in knowing whether you are going through a shift and whether you have shifted states. And those are completely different things. Just to give you a quick overview on what those are, is that you feel a little like you feel like you're in the pattern stage where you are noticing patterns and you're unable to fully get a grasp of why you're experiencing patterns on a consistent basis, especially like patterns that counteract or sort of contrast what it is you actually want to experience. And instead you're just kind of like in this observer mode. You're not necessarily emotionally triggered, but you could be in a frustration feeling state. You can be in you're partially believing in this false belief. You know that this is not who you are, and you're partially in the desire. So again, you're splitting your energies between the two identities, and you want to get really firm again in your desire embodiment. And then once you get firm in your desire embodiment, where again you are in a space where you can easily think, feel, believe from a space of already having this desire, that's how you know that you have shifted. That's how you know that if you were to get the opposite of what you know that you are, which is your desire embodiment, that you are no longer even associated with this version of yourself, and it's almost like you just don't know who this person is anymore, right? That's how you know that you have shifted completely, and you are again in this expansive, fulfilled, and full and complete space, right? And this could only be achieved again by honoring the manifestation process and really getting into your self-regulation activities so that you can move deeper and deeper into your embodiment. Okay, so that's what I wanted to mention. And for those of you who again are interested in learning more, my DMs are always open, but just go ahead and click the link in my bio and lock in a time for us to chat. I look forward to just hearing about your overall manifestation process, how we could fill in the gaps, how we could shift you out of dysregulation into a state of embodiment, and how you could create sustainable change with just shifting into your desire embodiment. And desire, of course, materializes instantly. So as soon as you get your desire, that is pretty much you're the version of yourself that is communicating to you that you already have this naturally anyways. So on that note, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next live. Cheers.